Don't do this at home, but I always wanted to try this. It does smell like buns until, well, let's just say I'm not allowed to do it anymore. 2 months before Christmas, I had a choice to make: to start batching small things and finally start woodworking business for real, or to develop something that might be on the next level for me. I got inspired by the Rockler Try This challenge. It kinda gave me the green light to try things that I always wanted to try. Believe it or not, I am actually not a competitive person, so for my peace of mind, I was calling it product number 2. Thermally modified wood is supposed to be more stable and some even claim stronger. But while I was admiring the color, red signs started to show up. For example, shavings looked weird. Not that I know much about shavings, but it was best not to eat those. It no longer smelled like buns. One of the boards cracked, and I tried to break it even more. It wasn't too easy to break, so I just continued with the project. First, there was a little bit of epoxy, then more, and then even more. While you watch me working, let's summarize my 2 years on YouTube. It started with time lapse of my house renovation projects, but I quickly realized that everyone is doing it. So I had to come up with unique ideas. I thought that those will cover up for my lack of filming and acting skills. From there, I made a weird looking drying rack, a doweling jig with magnetic guides and extension, a sliding boom arm, and the best thing ever, at least for me, adjustable dust hood for my table saw. And while I'm the happiest when I brainstorm ideas and make them usable, we don't always get to do what we want. We all have bills to pay, and I have extra. Wait, one last small thing and then I stop dreaming. I'm having issues with this clamp. As you can see, it kinda warps the setup. I absolutely had to do something about it. So I thought, how do I apply pressure towards the fence instead of it pushing down? And then I have this aha moment. Pull out a couple of brackets and springs and washers, a bit of work, and surprisingly, I'm happy with results. But am I reinventing the wheel? I don't have a crosscut sled. Should I just buy one? Because I know I will get carried away with new ideas. And time really flies so fast. And I better start making money, because YouTube revenue is so so. After all small angle jigs and somewhat okayish test piece, I started carefully laying out baked walnut in the same way. From here, smooth sailing, or so I thought. Remember I mentioned that temperate wood is supposed to be stronger? Well, most likely I overbaked it, because mine was so easily cracking all the time. And during the entire project, I had a feeling I took a task way above my skill level. Mm.
Ew.
So, what makes a high end woodworking product? Is it a skill? Is it time you spent on details? Is it design? Is something like this even worth making? I needed to add some grooves and holes. You will find out why later. No. Jesus. Treating the grooves didn't go well, so I came up with a secret sauce of glue, copper pigments, and black dye. For the X joint, I tried to bend copper, but it was not a perfect fit, so I simply cut it into smaller pieces, sanded it, and glued it all together. And I messed up again. I glued this one piece upside down, and since all of the grooves and holes were already done, I had to cut off the top part in hopes that the shorter piece at the bottom will somehow be fine. Let's give credit to the woodworkers who don't have the budget for a good tool. You guys rock. Not only you have to learn a new skill, you also have to win the battle with a crappy tool. I admire your dedication, but please don't get jealous. Our ultimate goal is to eventually get a good quality tool, not to struggle forever. This dado was cut at the table saw with 11-degree angle, or 79. Depends on how you look at it. Yep, my first box has only one 90-degree angle. Had to match the design of the arrow. The spot looked weird, so I added a little bit of the wood hardener. Bubbles. I never thought it's gonna be that bad. Why didn't I seal it first? I should have taken that virtual epoxy workshop. And one day I'm gonna be able to afford the creator course. But for now, I need to start making money with what I have. I worked so hard on the dados at my rotor table. They were perfect. But oh well, I pulled out that piece that detaches my shoulder from my neck, and you can guess what happened. Some spots felt like I was sanding a charcoal. Scratches from sandpaper appeared with each wrong move. When I work on a product, I always think how to make more of these and faster. But with this one, I realized this is not for mass production. It will be one and only, and I'm trying eBay auction trick that many YouTubers implemented successfully. Starting bid is $1. Yep, just one. Either it brings a decent amount of money, or I will give myself 3 more months of no unique ideas. Just batching simple things. If I need a jig, I buy it. Yep, I said that. So, it is not a goodbye just yet. It is an opportunity for you to watch me fail or succeed. And it is one last push for me before going back to office. Since this is another change of strategy for the channel, you need to let me know what is it exactly that you'd like to watch about woodworking business. Numbers, steps that I took, a vlog or short stories. You get the point. I could not wrap my head around the order of glue up and other things. I still had to work on wires. Yep, there will be wires or cables, many of them, and there will be no button. The way how it's supposed to work is you touch a wire, feel a gentle buzz, and as a reward for your struggle, it lights up. This is the top part of the box. The cables have to go through it. Looking for better design choices and decided to go with the same grooves as for the arrow. Copper. It is no longer a design choice. It is the main material that fixes it all, with only one issue, the squeeze out. I wanted none, because I already spent a lot of time on grooves and dados. First piece was a success, but the second one, oh well, more work. About the order. It will be almost impossible to pull through some cables gently if everything is glued up. So I can just glue it all together, then apply finish, then add cables. Let's say I pull cables first, then glue it all up. Then chances I damage the cables are pretty high. And what about finish? Applying it after the cables can again mess up the cables. But I had to start somewhere. So I glued up the top 2 pieces and worked on more details. Arrow fits like a glove. And as you can see, my mistake during glue up turned into a feature. The short piece is levitating. More details with hand tools and more charcoal sanding. It is actually a strainer made of charcoal. Turned out that while baking, water evaporates. The wood is very dry and basically filled with air. The question here is, was it worth it? Yes, the color is stunning. But if I have to replace air with epoxy, isn't it better to just stain the whole thing without baking? The scariest part was to take it off without breaking. I didn't have any spare parts left. Can you feel the buzz? I can't wait to test it and see if it works. More copper to add thickness to the sides that I sanded so heavily. Actually, no. Sanding was as usual. This wood evaporates much faster, so only gentle hand sanding from now on. I wanted to give up, but I can't. I will fix all southern small imperfections. Applying the finish was supposed to be satisfying, but not in this case. As you can see, some spots just absorbed all 3 layers, like if there were none. Each layer had to dry for 24 hours before applying the next one, so time is ticking. But I had to sand it all off again and try more glue, grain filler, wax sticks, more sanding, more details, and then apply finish again. All of this effort, and I'm not sure yet if I'll be able to assemble and glue up everything without significant damage. 3 months of work can go to a trash bin in a second. Oh, I think I forgot to show you the secret tool that I restored and used for the first time. I love old tools. They have a hidden story, a mystery, a memory, and a soul. But I could not figure this one out. Had to put it away and use my block plane. By now, all I want is to call it done. I no longer care about eBay auction, about my video performance. I just want some sort of ending. Happy or not, doesn't matter. I'm exhausted, and I need a break. This pump was supposed to hold batteries, but I decided to replace them with a power bank, and I thought it was a wonderful idea. I tried to loosen up the glue. It didn't work. But of course, I bubbled up my finish. New holder looked like this. Well, yeah. Then it was time to be brave again and do another small glue up. Since top and bottom are not parallel to each other, I added some angled blocks to support the clamps. Remember that this right side has a touch wire, so I have to be very careful with it. I'm only gluing sides to the top, but upside down. And of course, after that, I had to deal with squeeze out, and a flashlight really helped. Used soldering iron for the first time. It went okay, but it stinks a lot. Tested LED lights and also prepared them for glue up. Yes, glue up. I'm gonna glue them to the fiber optics that I have. Now you know why I needed those holes in the arrow. Had to clean this spot from finish because I still have to glue the arrow to the top. The order of operation is still somewhat unclear to me. While I was trying to fit the fiber optics in, I realized that I better test those. Not every cable glows evenly, even with a sandpaper trick. So I had to pull it all out, add a bunch of extra cables, glue them up, and cut off those that were not glowing really well. Attaching power bank to the base and making sure it's not going anywhere. Okay, so what do we have? We have an arrow, a top with sides and wires, and a base with a power bank, as well as fiber optics attached to LED lights. Now it all has to go together somehow. Pulling all of those cables through was tricky. First of all, they are very fragile, and I had to be very careful. And a bunch of wires is never a good thing. I had to fit it all in one small box. And then I also had to make sure it all goes through the arrow. And I will still have to glue them to the arrow. As of now, the arrow is still not attached to the top. While I snipped off the first cables, I realized that it is too soon. And I better position everything inside the box first. Dry fit for the glue up went fine, But when I added the glue, it actually started slipping. No! Some tape saved my day and I was able to get a decent result. But while the connection seemed to be strong, I wanted to make sure it's stronger. So I decided to add some screws. And if you know me, I drilled through a lot of stuff. This was no exception. After I attached the arrow, it was time to finally organize all of those cables. And then I could do the final glue up. No. Which of course didn't go well. I learned a lot during this project. One of the main things is when your ambitions don't correlate with your abilities, it is better to make a step back, or things can get hairy. Stepping back doesn't always mean a complete failure. It actually might help you to complete a project. Even though I stepped back, I still have to rethink all of my plans, starting with eBay auction. There will be none. And not because this thing isn't perfect, but mostly because of that power bank. I'm still up to starting woodworking business, but right now I have zero ideas on what to do. Making something like this twice a year will not make a living. YouTube is an addition. Well, I'm very demotivated right now. Maybe I'm just not a YouTube friendly person. Maybe it's not my thing. Maybe I'm just too stubborn to tailgate someone's trend. After the final glue up, actually, it wasn't the final one, but hold on. I was able to finally cut all the fiber optics to size and carefully slide those cables into the holes. Then I made this weird holder that lets me put entire thing upside down so that I could do the final glue up. Which of course I also messed up. But I fixed it, and I fixed the blowout from the screw. I will not be able to fix those bubbles that appeared from the heat gun. I will not be able to fix many other things with this lamp. I can't even call it a lamp because it's very, very dim. I was, however, able to fix a gap that appeared after the glue up with a little bit of copper. What not to love about copper? Arr. Because top and bottom were no longer in one plane, I had to adjust the back lead, which slides in and out and holds due to a friction fit. Anyways, enough talking, I'm done. Here are the money shots. Or zero money shots.